Hello and welcome to the latest of our podcasts on cost of living. I'm joined by Hannah as usual, and this time also by Chris, who's going to pick up specifically on our thinking of how cost of living is going to impact retail this Christmas. So it's still turbulent times, and so since we last recorded one of these podcasts, I think the biggest issue has been rising interest rates and rising mortgages. Now, our hope is to, for the next podcast, look into this in even more detail and look at the demographics a little bit more. But I just want to start with some sort of fairly sobering thoughts. So, from analysis that we've done, we estimate that about 1.7 million households are going to have to remortgage next year, so in 2023. So, that realistically means a rise in people's mortgages of about 4 percentage points. Now, a lot of press talks about the typical mortgage and seems to use that as being about 200 grand. But unfortunately, it's often a lot more than that. So, for about 7.5% of households, we think that their mortgages are over £350,000, especially in London and the southeast for obvious reasons of house prices there. So that means looking through that and using some sort of very basic maths, we reckon there's about 500,000 households in London and the southeast in 2023 alone who are going to see their mortgages go up by over £10,000 per year. Now, with some fairly basic maths on that, if people suck up that rise and don't extend their mortgage terms, that's going to suck about £5 billion out of the economy, out of discretionary spend, by people needing to spend it on mortgages rather than other things. Now, let's look at that slightly more positively, that, most of those groups that are going to be hit by those big rises, by definition, are relatively high up the acorn spectrum. We talked in the past that they've got a relatively large buffer of disposable income, but inevitably, that discretionary income, which could be spent on a car, could be spent on going out, could be spent on shopping, is going to get redirected into paying their mortgages. So there is a potential risk of quite a lot of money being taken out of the retail and the leisure sectors to cover those mortgages. Now, the reality is what we're seeing is a lot of people are looking to extend their mortgage terms. Now, that will mean that the hit won't be as intense, but I guess you could argue that means it could have a longer term impact at a lower level on the economy. The obvious secondary point related to those mortgage rises is around moving house and house prices. That, if you've got to keep your mortgage and you've got to renegotiate it and extend your term, that's something people have to do. But you can put off moving house. So we do think that there could be a serious drop in property prices over the year ahead. Now, that does have risks of negative equity for some, but also it does also have the potential risk right the way through to the rental market, particularly with landlords who are paying interest-only mortgages for rentals, that they have got to cover those costs, and those will get passed on to the rental sector. So, against that backdrop, we are heading into a tricky Christmas. I'm actually, again, talking of backdrops, I'm literally sitting in front of a cabinet here that is from made.com, and unfortunately we've just seen them go. So it's not a great outlook from that point of view. So at risk of sort of now handing over to you, Chris. Sorry, no, it's not to you, Chris. It's Hannah. You've done a whole load of number crunching from our new survey around how people are planning for Christmas. What's the thing that stands out for you in that?
Thanks, Paul. And yeah, before I kind of go into it, that £5 billion stat is quite stark, isn't it? It's quite very kind of extreme levels of money kind of leaving the everyday economy. Yeah, we've done a Christmas survey. It's been a very similar survey to if you've kind of watched previous podcasts. We've been trying to monitor consumer sentiment for the last 6-7 months or so. And what we've done this time is really try to drill into those anticipated behaviours for Christmas. And that's a big caveat to this. We've talked about people's anticipated behaviour. This is not observed behaviour. But what we found in this survey is some really, really interesting results. The theme that kind of stuck out to me most, which is kind of what I'm going to run through in the next couple of minutes, is the online versus in-store kind of very historic debacle in terms of where people are going to be doing their shopping this year. And what we found, first of all, was that there was almost a complete 50-50 split between people that said, yes, I'm going to do my Christmas shopping online or in-store. And there wasn't loads of nuance between different Acorn groups, which I thought was interesting. I think that's off the back of the pandemic and everyone kind of bridging that digital gap that we had before. So everyone's kind of very online savvy these days to an extent, and that means that people are going to be splitting. What we know from our broader spend projections data is that between 40 and 50% of spend overall goes online for comparison goods, and that's when you include cash. That's an important point to make because a lot of the data out there does not include cash in those estimates. But what we're seeing here in anticipated behaviour is almost a kind of complete parallel to that in what people think they're going to do. So that was the first point I wanted to make. The second point I wanted to make was around what really is driving those decisions to shop in each, either online or in store. Most people believe that online is a cheaper way of shopping, and 58% of people said that. 58% of people also said, I prefer going in store at Christmas if there's a nice, pleasant environment, because they enjoy the atmosphere. So that same group of people that by their own admission say, yes, okay, fine, I think I can save some money online, and they're also preferring that in-store trip. So I think it's really important there in terms of what's going to be motivating people to carry out those different behaviours. Price comparisons are going to be really, really key this Christmas for a lot of people. People are already saying that they're going to massively have to cut down the amount of gifts they spend and how much they're spending on them, to ensure that they're kind of able to pay for everyday life. So I think if you're kind of operating in the physical space in this context, flash sales, kind of really, really clear discount marketing within shop fronts is going to be quite effective in terms of capturing some of that spend as passers-by come and think, oh, I can save a couple of quid here. But equally, we're talking about consumers' budgets being cut, landlords, occupiers' budgets are being cut as well, and they're trying to make difficult decisions at the moment on where to cut that spend. What this data has shown me is do not make those spend cuts on Christmas lights, on decorations, because it's really the atmosphere that's driving people in store. The Christmas music, the carolers, possibly at your local shopping centre, that stuff is really going to make a difference. And if we're not going to completely stop spending, we're going to be spending less, but there is still that spend to go after, and it's about those little nuances and things that you can do that are going to be really effective.
Absolutely, and obviously we have to remember this is the first normal quote Christmas for quite a long time. So against that backdrop, Chris, what do you think this all means for retailers with physical estates?
Yeah, no, I think just to answer and to piggyback on some of Hannah's points there in terms of understanding the environment from my perspective, we know that consumers visit a store for one of three reasons rather than go online. It's price, so you can't get it cheaper elsewhere. Obviously, you then compete with online on that. It's experience, so everything what Hannah said there around what you're doing there. It's a leisure activity as well as a shopping mission, and then convenience being the third one. I know from my personal experience, I'll go to Kingston John Lewis and I will buy more than half my Christmas presents in one trip because it's quick, it's easy to do so, and in some instances, price per product is probably slightly more expensive than I could find online. It's easy for me to do, and also there's less choice. So I'm an absolute sucker for any ad that pops up on social media. Should you buy this one? And suddenly my spend is increased. So for me as a consumer, my personal choice, I find it a lot easier, quicker, and more efficient for me to go in store. We can also see that from our survey data that more than 50% of consumers that are planning to shop physically will visit the same stores they did last year. So the work that those retailers and brands have done, brand building, gaining that brand equity through those physical estates, through delivering great customer experiences, that provides an opportunity for them even those tougher times. And I suppose more generally, you're seeing a bigger shift towards that with brands like Nike, Levi's, Adidas looking to develop their own sort of direct-to-consumer channels in order to build that brand equity. So consumers are going out and seeing greater brand value in having, I want a pair of Levi's rather than a pair of jeans, so they can maintain sales in some of those sort of tougher times where consumers are going to have to make some quite important tough decisions about where they cut back on spend. Um, the other thing we're seeing as well is, I know there's every year there's complaints around Christmas is starting earlier. It's beginning of November. John Lewis have launched their Christmas ad already. But we can see that, again, from the survey, consumers are looking to shop earlier for Christmas and start spending earlier. I know my government got in touch with me, spoke to me around what we're doing, who we're going to buy presents for, with a big list of what we're buying and when. So I think consumers are looking to do that to try and spread the cost of Christmas out across those multiple paychecks, almost like a organic Klarna. And the Christmas adverts and merchandise, everything you see at the moment is, I think, it's more of a reaction to an existing consumer trend rather than a big commercialization of Christmas. So yeah, again, leveraging your stores so that while people on those shop missions, using stores as a media space to let people know you're open for Christmas, you've got those gifting ideas, and they can start by purchasing those gifts, those important things for their friends and family now is a great opportunity, and the stores provide an opportunity to showcase that to consumers straight away. So I think those are sort of the key things that are coming out of this, and the opportunities that retailers with estates will have off the back of the hard work they put in over the last few years that they've been trading.
That's really interesting. And to that point about list shopping, I think we're going to see a lot of that this year, cutting all of that spontaneous wandering around. So any kind of location that can showcase the fact that they do have everything in one place, that's going to be a really effective way of capturing the bulk of the Christmas shopping. Just to move on, another big stat that we found in our survey, the Christmas survey, was that a third of all people, rising for younger people, but a third of all people are worried that they're going to have to reduce how much they socialize over the Christmas period because of cost. It feels like we should talk about socializing and leisure a little bit in terms of the context of Christmas in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think not just Christmas as well. I think one thing that as well as the World Cup, which is, it feels weird saying that when it's dark when I leave the house and dark when I get back home again. But that's a huge socializing event as well as Christmas. That's traditionally been a huge opportunity for the leisure and hospitality sector. And I know we've seen stats around consumers are looking to, they want to protect that spend, and they want to socialize, but equally financially they're unable to, and spend more time at home. So I think from a World Cup perspective, to begin with, it's a real, football is coming home, but it's home. And we're going to see a real trend of consumers doing that, and what's operating to capitalize that. I know from an FMCG perspective, your Budweiser, your Heineken's doing those deals and getting the right product and offers into, and brand collaborations into the right stores so consumers can capitalize that and purchase that, is a real opportunity for them. Paul, I don't know if you've seen anything from more of a hospitality perspective,
well,
what they're doing around this.
I think sort of around the World Cup, there is that real sort of, because we've seen a bit of a dip in takeaway and delivery food, which obviously peaked during COVID. It may well be that we see that coming back during that period. That this is the opportunity to have your friends round. It's not quite the I want to sit outside in the summer watching a match on a big screen. So that is one that I'm hoping that leisure brands will sort of gear themselves back up for that and promote themselves in that way, to make sure that if people are not coming into their restaurants or into their bars, that they're providing opportunities for delivery. I think sort of bringing it back to the Christmas shopping experience, we've also got an interesting stat here that older groups they've gone through a lot of strange Christmases, they are very keen to socialize. They are keen to enjoy this Christmas. So this is a real opportunity that if those people are out doing their big leisure shopping trip, you need to make sure that you capture that spend whilst people are out. There are some groups there with decent money, particularly those who are sort of at their end of the mortgages and are fortunate enough to be less impacted. You've really got to be trying to make sure you can capitalise on that during that Christmas shopping period.
I think that's really key. You know, thinking about it, if I want to protect those experiences and go out there, but I need to make cuts somewhere, it's going to be that sort of that tail end of I'll just pop out for a pint or do something that's fairly run the mill mundane that's going to get cut. And the bit that you're going to protect is those important experiential pieces, whether that be big group things with family and friends, or you know, going to some sort of event in a restaurant, pub, bar that's Christmas themed, and that's there's an element of theatre and experience around that I wouldn't get through the rest of it. And that those are the missions and occasions that are going to be prioritised here from a consumer perspective, rather than something like, you know, it doesn't matter if I'm doing it now or doing it in June. It's going to be the same.
Okay, I think that's everything that we wanted to cover today. So it feels strange in the first half of November to be ending up a conversation about we've done Christmas now. So next month we are, as I said, hoping to look into the mortgage impact in a little bit more detail. We'll also update on any other trends that we have been seeing from any of our other data sources. But I'm going to end there. We wish you all the best for your Christmas trading, and who knows what will have happened in the World Cup by the time we next record one of these. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.